Let's go. Hello guys, welcome to Chesspoint. Today we discuss about King's Indian defense. The King's Indian defense is a hyper modern aggressive opening for black as response for d4. Following hyper modern principle, black allows white to build a strong pawn center to later counter attack it. A sharp opening, the King's Indian is not be the best choice for beginners. However, a number of strong grandmasters like Bobby Fischer and Gary Kasparov constantly employed this opening when fighting for a win with black pieces. So let's see starting position of King's Indian defense. The King's Indian defense arises after the move of d4, knight f6, c4 and g6. Like in other hypermodern openings, black does not try to control the center with pawns. Instead, the idea is to let white build a strong pawn structure and center, and then counter attack it's using pieces and pawns. The King's Indian leads to unbalance the position, where black tries to fight for advantage instead of equality. For this reason, it's also a risky opening, which usually leads to white having an edge when playing accurately. It's also most difficult for white players white to play for a draw, which tends to lead to more decisive games. So what is its benefit or losses? I tell you, benefit of this opening is sharp opening, leads to fascinating positions, and black often gets attack against the white king. Consultant is white usually gets a space advantage. Second, white typically builds a considerable pressure on the queen side. There are decent responses for the every style of players. So here are many variation of King's Indian defense. So first of all, the theory of King's Indians is extensive with many different lines that are popular among top players. So first variation is its main line. The main line of King's Indians is white build a strong pawn center and black playing the thematic central pawn break with e5. So first of all, we see the main line of King's Indian defense. So after g6, white moves its knight on knight c3. After this, black goes bishop g7, then e4, d6, knight f3. After this, black double zero, bishop e2, and e5, and white goes to double zero, and after this black knight c6. So this is the main line of King's Indian defense. So you see that here the chances of black is good after this moves, not far better but better position for white. And black mainly defends his position, and after when it defends the position, he tries to attack and counter attack the king side of the white. So here you see next move for white is d5. Here d5 pushes, then knight threatened, and knight went to knight e7. After this, here we see that knight e1 is another move. Or various moves are coming here. You play better in this position, because here your bishop is protecting this area, the pawn, and the knight attacking this side, and knight also attacking to try this break this defense of black. So here if we goes to knight e1, after this black goes for c6. Many moves are comes here, but we get to see a4. After this we goes for knight e1. So here you see that black also tries to protect their king side area, and white come for the knight d3 and attacking to king side. So this is a good for white, and if you try and play better here, you get chances of winning is more. So black will usually play for checkmate with king side attack, while white will likely counter attack the queen side. So this is the main line of King's Indian defense. So next variation is Samisch variation. The widely popular Samisch variation starts after the white plays f3. At the point where white play knight f3, here in this variation you play f3 only. So we see how we play. After this we goes to d6, where black plays d6. Here comes the new variation, Samisch variation, where white play f3. So this version with this move, white leads to support the e4 pawn and prevents the black f6 knights from jumping to g4. The game usually develops into an all-out war with players castling to opposite sides of the board. White can also try to squeeze black slowly with their space advantage. So here we see that after this black tries to castling, and white tries to build its position better. So if bishop e3 we play, we try to make a good position. After this c5, if we pushes the pawn to d5, then a6. So this line is mainly a typical line for white. If you not good bell, this position is against you, but if you play well, this position is mainly for draw position. If you try, because white also settle his position and pieces in good form, and black also try. So this opening variation is also good, but after this we see the new variation of King's Indian defense is Averbakh variation. So we come to the main starting position of King's Indian defense. So another popular variation is the Averbakh variation, where white develops the dark square bishop to g5. This move discourages the typical King's Indian defense e7, e5 pawn break. So we see that in fifth move of white, where the main line says knight f3, where schematic variation says f3, and then the new variation we see here is Averbakh variation. So here in fifth move, white plays bishop e2. So we see d6. After this, white tries to put the bishop on bishop e2. So after this, black castling, and white goes to bishop g5. So here this move, black goes to h6 to attack on white bishop of bishop g5. After this, white goes to bishop e3, then c5, pawn push d5, e6. If we goes to knight f3, after this e cut d5, c cut d5, b5, e5, knight g4. If we cut knight cut b5, knight cut e3, f cut e3. If knight d7, various moves are here. If we goes to e cut d6, knight f6. So after this, white tries to castling, and here you see that the position is draw. Draw and other chance of white winning. So this variation is also a good variation. We goes to next variation, and this variation is Petrosian variation. The Petrosian variation is another way to face the King's Indian. White plays the early move of at the point of d5 on the 7th move. So we see the moves of Petrosian variation. So after this, g6, then knight c3, bishop g7, what the main line says, e4, d6, knight f3, what the main line goes for that. And after this, double zero, bishop e2, e5, and whatever. Here white goes for 0-0, but the variation of Petrosian variation, it says that here pushes the pawn to d5. So a little bit changes in the variations. So after this we see that two moves comes here. Here the knight h5 we get to see. After this g3, c6, bishop e3, c cut d5, c cut d5, f5. If we cut it with e cut f5, b cut f5, sorry, g cut f5. So here you see that the chances of white is here in good position for winning or draw, but if you make mistake then you lose. So closing down the center and slowing down the game, something not all Kings Indian players are comfortable with. Black will usually maneuver to attack the king side, with the white going for the queen side. So after you see that black opens and his position is attacking in the king side, and after white tries to also in going to queen side, but if player changes his mind, he also goes for the king side. So and our last variation is 4 pawn attack. Four pawn attack was considered one of the best responses of the Kings Indian for years. White accepts black challenges and takes the whole center with the pawns on c4, d4, e4 and f4. White can then go for the sharp game or try to create a wind. However, the current theory states that white demands pawn center is slightly flimsy and can be stability. So at the point of again fifth move of white, where the main line says knight f3, but after this the 4 pawn attack is simply we see that f4. You see that how white open his pawns in the center with c4, d4, e4 and f4. There's a far open game for white, but after this black tries to break this position. He goes for c5, d5, 0-0, bishop e2 or c d3 is also, but we go to bishop e2. After this e6, knight f3, so after this e cut d5, c cut d5. So what we see in previous variation, just like that, the position is tried to goes at those position where other variation also goes, but in different way. So this is the variations of King's Indian defense, and here the how to play against the King's Indian defense. White scores is usually favorable against the King's Indian defense. Black attempt to create an unbalanced position to fight for the advantage can backfire, and statistics shows that the well prepared white player will usually win or draw the game. Just like what I say below are the variations that have been played numerously times by the master and score well against the Kings Indians. So in the main line, if you study the main line of the King's Indian for white, you are likely to enjoy the considerable success against it. Of the more than 54,000 games in our master database of in chess.com, you see that white wins 42% and draws 30%. But I said to you, and merely 28% the chances of loses. I stated if the main line goes for d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, g7, d6, knight f3, 00, bishop e2. What we see in the main variation of King's Indian defense. And here the new one comes is Makogonov variation. If you like to try to surprise your opponent with the sideline, you might want to consider the Makogonov variation. This variation is gaining popularity among super grandmasters as way of fighting the King's Indian with close to 5,000 games in white wins 51% of the games, draws 24% and lost only 25%. Here we see the Makogonov variation. So after c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, and here comes the Makogonov variation of h3. After this, here it's a good game for white. After this, 00, knight f3, e5, d5, knight fd7, bishop g5. You see how this variation attacking the king side of black, and black not giving any chances to white to come in the attacking side, so he also tries to defend it. So after this, with the white wants to g2, g2, g4 pawn. Push to stop the black thematic plan of playing f7, f5, s3. Pawn also stops the black from the playing knight g4, allowing white to develop this their dark square bishop to d3 safely. We goes to see that after d3. So whatever the position, you mainly see that this position comes always where bishop e2, knight f3, knight c3, d5, c4 and e4 and 00 whatever. So this is the variations and the play against King's Indian opening. After we see the history of King's Indian defense is also so the King's Indian defense has been around for centuries, but many masters consider it's a suspicious opening. Since it gives up control of the center, the opening is starting gaining traction after the rise of hypermodernism in chess and become widely accepted after the strong players like GM David Bronstein employed it successfully. So many strong grandmasters have adopted this opening, including former world champion GM Mikhail Tal and Kasparov. The King's Indian is still largely used in tournament with players such as GM Hikaru Nakamura, who is choosing one of their main weapon with black. So in next video we see the famous games of King's Indian defense. So thank you and bye.